everybody, this is Sherry at djsundry.blogspot.com, and I am so excited to be trying this card with you today. And the reason I say trying is because I really don't know how it's going to turn out. This is going to be something fun, something new for me. Some of you may have tried similar techniques, but we're just going to jump in and go with it. I didn't even try to do this before I went on camera, so we're just going to keep it real today, and you'll see if it works when I see if it works. So the first thing that I'm doing is I have the Cricut Art Philosophy cartridge from Close to My Heart. Now, this is inspired by that cartridge, and that's because I didn't cut it out, but because I found this in a drawer. Earlier, probably sometime long before Christmas, I did something, and I can't even remember now what it was, where I used this number, I don't know what you would call it, but just the numbers are going every which way. And I used that, and if you have been following me for quite a while, I've warned you many times to practice cutting on less expensive paper before you cut into your good paper. And this is one of those less expensive cuts of paper, just some plain white cardstock. I don't know what size it is. I could guess. If I looked at it, this looks like it is probably maybe a 5.5 inch. But I really don't know because I just found it in my drawer that I throw my leftover die cuts. So we're going to use that. Now this paper that you see on the back is actually Xyron paper. And what I did is I ran that through my repositionable, using my repositionable adhesive cartridge in my Xyron 900, I ran this die cut through. And I have hopefully picked up most of the extra adhesive from around. I still keep seeing some, but it'll work. So that's using the Cricut Art Philosophy cartridge on page 61. And again, I'm not positive of that size, but I think it's a 5.5 inch that I made. I'm also going to be using Joyful Song. Now, no, don't worry, I'm not doing a Christmas program or Christmas project. I just want the background of one of these, and I'll show you which one in a minute, and as a card comes together, it will make perfect sense. The other one that I'm using is The Journey from Tim Holtz as well, and I'm using the Old Jalopy. Now, this is one thing that I did do before, is I already have stamped my image from Old Jalopy, or the Old Jalopy from The Journey, and I stamped that using the Black Soot Distress ink on some craft cardstock from Paper Tray Ink, and I've already cut around that because I wanted to have that done and off the camera. And then I'm using a card base from Paper Tray Ink as well. For what I'm going to try to do, I wanted to have a really heavy cardstock to see if it would work, so that's why I chose my Paper Tray Ink craft. And it's a standard A2 size card, and we're going to well, let's see, which way am I going to put it? Probably this way, so it'll be 5.5 inches wide by 4.25 inches tall. Then I also have this stamp. This says, "You're not old, you're vintage," and this is an old, this is from Seven Gypsies, and it was just something that I got, I think it was Hampton Art maybe made it with Seven Gypsies, and it had like 3 little stamps on it, and I picked it up for a couple dollars, $2 or $3 at Michael's one time. And I have looked and looked and looked to come up with the proper name for this stamp set, and I can't find it. Probably because it was like a promo set or something. I don't know. But this is the Seven Gypsies set. And then this is the background that I'm using from Tim Holtz from that Joyful Song. It's that kind of shattery background. You could use it for ice if you wanted, but I'm using it for kind of the vintage feel. So you can probably see where this card's going. I'm using, from Close to My Heart, I plan to use this Outdoor Denim ink. I'm going to be using frayed burlap ink, and then I've already mentioned that I use the Black Soot Distress ink as well. So what I want to do is we are going to try to mask something. Now I have 2 different sprays. One of them is my homemade, let's see, it's True Blue, just paint, either like from Folk Art or somewhere like that I mixed with pewter colored Perfect Pearls and water, and I've just made it myself, and I forgot to shake these, so that one may take a bit. I'll just shake it while we're talking. This one is Glimmer Mist, and it's Tiger Lily. So basically I've got orange and blue. Now the person I'm making this card for, the school mascot where he went to college, he was in a society, and their colors were orange and blue. And then also He's a huge Denver Bronco fan. And of course, you know that Denver Broncos are orange and blue. So I thought, well, let's go with orange and blue. Now, this is somebody that I know really well, so I can get away with a card like this, I hope. We'll find out. He won't be mad at me. He'll just pay me back some way by probably doing something similar on my next birthday. So what I'm going to do is I just put a little piece of ATG to hold that closed because I don't want the spray to get underneath it. And I ripped that, but that's okay because the mask is actually bigger than my card front is anyway. And I'm going to use this as a mask. So the 5.5 size fits really well. I'm going to adhere it down. Now, theoretically, if everything is done correctly on this, it should come right up, right? Because it's repositionable adhesive. It is, and I'm just going to use it as a mask. That's my story anyway. We're about to find out if it works. Now, I just have an old shoe box. If you've been following me for a while, you also know I'm a nurse and I wear Dansko shoes. And I saved one of my pairs of one of my shoe boxes, and it makes a great little masking box. I didn't have to pay anything for it, or I already paid for the shoes. I might as well use the box, right? So let me just make sure I still am finding little bits of adhesive here. Okay. So far that sticks down really well. So let's see what happens if this masks as well as I'm hoping it will. So I'm just going to... Now, I will say that when I started making my own paints, I really like them, and I saved a lot of money by making them myself. After the first time I used Tattered Angels, there is no comparison. The Tattered Angels is so much better. They're also significantly more expensive, but probably worth it. A little bit goes a long way. So I've splattered a little bit of blue. Now that this will spray, let's go back in with quite a lot of orange because I'm covering craft, and even then I'm not sure how well the craft is going to cover. Okay, so let's go back in with a little more blue, and right now it just looks pretty much like a mess, but when I come up, there we go, we'll see how much of that orange is actually showing. If it doesn't really show now that I've covered it so much in blue, what I can do is I can pick up the orange using my ribbon that I'll probably use on it. Okay, so I am going to actually shut off the camera, and I am going to get out my embossing tool and heat dry this just to kind of speed up the process, and I'm not going to bore you with that. So I'll be back in just a few minutes. Okay, now the moment of truth. Now, I saved this backing paper thinking that if this worked, I could reuse the mask. But now that it's all dried, the mask is not going to be able to reuse. So obviously this was not an ideal, well, maybe you could reuse it, but it wasn't an ideal product for a mask, but then it was just a leftover, right? So the moment of truth, let's pull it off together. I resisted pulling it off of camera because I wanted you to see. I figure, hey, we're in this together. I know that it came up in a few places, so I actually blotted it. Definitely not reusing that mask now, am I? I blotted it before I dried it more because there were some larger water bubbles. I think it may actually have worked. Again, obviously this is not the ideal masking material, but I used what I had, right? But I think it might have worked. It may not be as blue and orange as what I initially anticipated going on the craft. Now, had I gone on white, it probably would have been a little more noticeable. And I don't know, you know, maybe if I had used glossy paper, or I don't know what I could have used to make the mask a little more durable. I could have laminated it, which I honestly almost did prior to adhering it, because then it probably would have been reusable, but I didn't because I wasn't sure that the slickness would work. All right, so obviously as a mask, it worked. You have the integrity there, you have the numbers. It's kind of a grungy feeling. I'm just going to wipe off my mat here. Obviously I sped that up, kind of double timed it or whatever, because it was just taking too long to do it by hand to peel all that masking off, but it worked. So obviously you wouldn't want to rub it as hard as I'm rubbing it right now if it wasn't really dry. But you can kind of see this blue picking up here and some of the orange. It takes almost a copper effect picking up. And now I'm going to just open that up and get rid of my little piece of ATG because I'm done there. So now the next thing that I want to do is I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to, since we're already kind of making it grungy, I'm just going to use my distress tool and kind of add to that grunginess. Again, this paper tray ink is paper is really good for this because it is so nice and heavy. So it actually took the mask really well. So what did I learn? Well, the technique works. The products used, not so much. Obviously, regular cardstock wouldn't work. It worked. It's kind of a one-time use thing. So there we've got the front. So let's go ahead and finish up our card. And to do that, we're going to move next to the inside because I want to get the inside done. So I'm going to take this, I don't even know what it's called. It's like a background. It reminds me of Sky Shattering or something. I don't know. But it just really makes a nice little subtle background. And I'm using frayed burlap. I did try on a piece of scrap and used Vintage Photo, but it was darker than what I wanted it to be for this particular card. And I'm going to just go all over. Now, I don't want to go past the crease, so I'm just going to take something that'll work so that it sits right on the crease, so that when I mask over it, or when I stamp over it, it will go on the envelope and not into my picture, or into the top of the card, because I just don't want it to be on the top. And I was thinking about going over the whole thing, but I think I'm just going to stop right there and just go right there, because that'll give me kind of a corner that's starting to crack. It just reminds me of like a cracked windshield, starting to crack but hasn't quite met it. Kind of like the Vintage Birthday, starting to crack maybe a little bit, not there all the way. And I'm really being ornery, and yes, I'm really going to pay for that. I doubt if this person ever sees the video, although when I give him the card I may say, hey, I did a video, you might want to watch it. And then if I do that, though, I'll never hear about the end of it, so we'll just probably let it lay. It's for my brother-in-law, whose birthday was quite a while ago, and I am really behind, and he knows that, but he's actually going to be visiting me soon, and I haven't seen him in a few months. I guess he was here to visit a few months ago, but I haven't seen him since then, and so I wanted to get this. And I think I'm going to put this up by the crack and just stamp it down. And again, this is the close to my heart. You're not old, you're vintage. And that's going to pretty much finish off the inside. That'll give me plenty of room to write my little message, just telling him happy birthday, happy not so birthday, because his birthday was a long time ago, and that'll get going in that. So there's the inside. So now let's finish off the outside. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull the 3 Girl Jam, and this is Harvest Orange ribbon. And I'm going to pull that. Oh, and that's almost the end of my ribbon, so I'll probably just use the whole thing. The only thing is I really don't want a bow. So I think what I'm going to do is just pull that around like so. Let's just get a little ATG here and bring that just like so. Just adhere that down. Grab my scissors. I think, just to add a little more color and dimension, I think I'm going to go around the edges of this with the blue. Try to tie that blue back in again. Even though the car itself is black, I just think it'll just give it just that little help of color. And then rather than just putting it on straight down, maybe I'll use some dimensionals here. These are not Dimensional brand. I don't remember. I think they're Recollection, which I really like these, and I like their price point even more. So now we have a very vintage looking card, very masculine, very shabby, I guess you would say. Probably not my favorite card, but definitely a shabby, vintagey looking card. And it says, "You're not old, you're vintage." So it definitely is fitting there. So thanks so much for stopping by today while we did this experiment. And remember to take some time to enjoy the little things. Have a great day. Bye.